Is it fair to say, I mean, you're getting your master's.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it fair to say, like, you're getting your master's in hay?
Essentially as well, yeah. That's why I went and go for it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is.
All right, so we'll talk about those two things a little bit more about once we start driving.
Yeah.
6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here, out today with Rick from Rick's Custom Baling. We're gonna take you along today on a ride up here in Rick's tractor. We're gonna go out and run some bales out here, tell you a little bit about Rick's operation, the different guys that work with him, and it kind of educates you on what is a really cool individual. There's a lot of really remarkable people in this industry and in agriculture, and Rick is definitely one of them. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit of his story while we ride along out in the cab a little bit today.
Started it back when I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
Like, I started with nothing, man. Like, and I think our first year we had 4 acres. Right?
Okay.
And we made, on those 4 acres, we made 400 bales, 400 little bales. So it's like, look there, and 15, I think maybe around the 17th year, right around there. And like, to have the spread of equipment you have, like, Dad and I were both first generation farmers, man. Not like other cats out there who have, you know, were born into it, you know, have their farm.
A lot more to start with.
It is, man, yeah. And it's like, I feel pretty darn good, man. And it's like every year we kind of, our big thing is just we don't do mediocrity, but we take baby steps, whatever we are comfortable. We step out of our comfort zone, but you know, try not to overdo ourselves. Started with John Deere little balers because they were cheaper. And like, okay, my goal was to have, back then it was a 575, New Holland 575.
Yeah.
And then they came out with the 5070. So Mike Schatzberger, who retired now, he hooked us up with one, pretty good deal. And then we got a second one, so we have 2 5070s. Still have one old John Deere baler. We don't really use it at all. It's just backup that we haven't sold. And yeah, and then opportunity came to buy this, and like, it was a pretty good deal. So jumped on that. It was a private deal.
So your dad was explaining just from the business side. He was an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
How did the farming thing start?
Well, out of necessity, because we had sheep, which was just 4-H projects, and we couldn't get anyone to make the little bit of hay. So we're like, we'll just do it ourselves. We'll make the plunge.
One of the things I think is really cool to be able to show when we're out here is like the artistry of this.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It is an artistry. It's exactly what it is. And I get humbling moments almost every day, man. Like, just knowing and having the experience of, like, maybe we could have came out here and baled this hay, but if I'd intended this morning, like right now we're running 11% on the Harvest Tech monitor. And so if I'd intended this morning, we might be at over 20 and we can't bale. So it's just having that prior knowledge, because a lot of that knowledge came from experience, man. And you know what I mean, there's been humbling times where I thought that hay was dry, we'd take all the equipment to the field. I didn't get to take a drive out beforehand. We get there, it's too tough. So you got to go back and get the ted it out. So just experience is the big one. Just talking with a lot of older farmers. And me, I'm getting into alfalfa now. Well, I'm saying probably we started growing alfalfa the last 5 years, but I'm still new at it, man. And you know, and the grass hay, between the baling and the growing, you learn. I mean, I did. We planted 50 acres of Timothy this spring, and I did it at the earliest I could, right after I knew the last frost was gone. But this spring, very dry. There's little Timothy roots, just dried up. It was the first time I ever did a spring planting of Timothy, and I always did fall, but we got the ground, and I was like, I want to get this Timothy hay on, because we need a little Timothy in our inventory.
Yeah.
So I planted this 50 acres, and it dried up, and I ended up burning it off and got to replant it this fall. So it's just, you live and learn, man.
Yeah.
Experience is costly sometimes, but I love it. But you learn something every day. No day's the same. Yesterday we were baling mulch hay because it got rained on 4 times. I mowed it, and the landowner said, Rick, because I went over there to start raking it one day, and that stuff was just as green as the day I mowed it. And he was like, he said the day you mowed it, it just started raining, and where I'm at, we didn't get any rain. So it's just, you live and learn. We try to be.
So there's a huge spectrum there between, like, okay, so you're doing grass hay.
Yeah.
You're doing
good second cutting orchard grass, horse hay.
Mulch hay.
And then mulch hay.
It's the whole.
Oh, it's a big spectrum.
So where does you seem to have an appreciation for the quality side of it then?
Oh yeah.
Obviously, if you're getting a master's in.
Yes, I love hay, man. I live and breathe hay. And like originally we didn't do mulch hay. My in-laws, they'd help us out with mulch hay. Some other local farmers, we just give it to them. We say, hey, we were first starting out, like, consider that a wash. Take this hay off for us for mulch hay. And so anyway, we got hooked up through my in-laws with some mushroom farms, and we don't purposely try to make mulch hay. There's very little money in it. But it's an avenue for hay that gets rained on, or hay that's got a little weedy, got away from you, or hay that got a little old. Yeah. So we've been to good grass hay, good alfalfa. We do the mulch. It's you kind of got to be diversified there in that aspect.
So you guys you're doing your own ground. Your own ground is selling your own bales then.
Mm-hmm. Most of our stuff is rented. Like I said, we're first generation farmers. I bought my farm, but a lot of the other stuff is rented. Like we're on rented ground today.
So you're renting though, but you're keeping the bales that come off of this.
Yep.
Do you bale for other people then too? Or?
Yeah, that's where originally the business idea came about, because we bought the hay equipment for ourselves to just make on that little 4 acres we had, and word got out that Rick, he'll come bale your hay. I only did my 4 acres. Ground was on. And so we started doing it for other people, and that's when it took off.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, that's cool. It's helping pay for equipment. It helped us get a tedder. I mean, we were as green as you could be. So started with a custom baling, and then the opportunity came to rent some ground. Maybe we were making the hay for someone, and they got rid of their animals. They said, well, you can just keep making the hay and pay us rent. Like, that's fine. So I got into that and realized there's probably more money in growing hay, baling hay, than baling someone else's hay.
Right.
So we still do both. The custom baling is good cash flow in the winter, because a lot of your money is in the ground as fertilizer, or it's in the barn waiting to get sold. So the custom baling helps with cash flow. And then once you get into the winter months, of course, then you're selling a lot of hay. You're getting into fall, you're selling a lot of hay too. And we still sell hay. Like I have a guy coming tomorrow for some of this hay. But I don't really push too much hay during the summer, because I bale a hay dry. If I knew this hay was too tough, we just stop baling. Even though it's going to rain tomorrow, I'm not going to put wet hay in my barn. It's not worth the risk. So I consider wet hay anything over 18%. Now we're putting, I have it set on the automatic mode now for the Harvest Tech. So you can bale, they say safely, up to 30%, but I want to go anything over 20, even with the acid on, just because I like the hay to cure well. Yeah. So I like keeping the hay in my barn a little bit, so I know it's going to cure right. I get gun shy. If I sell hay out of the field, probably the number one thing for horse farmers is we'll deliver the hay, stack it up in their barn, or 3x3s, they stack it in their barn, and they close the doors right up on the barn. And hay, even like this, it's 10% right now, the hay is going to keep curing in the barn. You know what I mean? Even though it's dry, all hay goes through a sweat, as they call it, or a cure process. So I like having the security of keeping it in my own barn for 4 weeks at least before I go selling it.
Okay. So when we were talking earlier, you kind of blew right through I teach high school welding.
Okay, yeah.
which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's, we talk a lot, and I'm sure you hear the chatter too about like people really would value by more people being encouraged to go into work like that.
Sure.
Right? There's a lot of good careers and a lot of good value in people learning that kind of education at this point.
Yep.
Props to you and thank you to you for what you're doing for that.
I love it.
Yeah. What? Tell me about welding. How did you get into that, and what got you started doing that in a high school setting?
I always loved it. I remember starting in my parents' driveway. My dad had an old Lincoln Buzz box, the old tombstone shape, and I did it just because I thought it was fun. And then once the baling company took off, and we were running old equipment, so old equipment always needed welded on. I was just stick welding, just burning 60-13 rods on it. And so then, my ag teachers, where I went to high school, they didn't encourage me, but I loved what they did, and I thought I'd love to do that too. So to please my parents and make myself feel successful, I was like, well, I better go to college. I thought it'd be neat to either be an electrician or a welder. I think it still does. Right?
I'm with you too. If I had to pick a trade, that would be it.
Yeah. So went to college for it, and I realized that a lot of the kids I was in my ag education classes with, they were all ag sciences, and I was like the only cat in there that was had any experience with welding and any type of rough carpentry and just ag mechanics in general. So I don't think I was even graduated college. I had a job offer, so I worked there, and then a position came open at the local school district, which was my dream job. So I applied there, went for the interviews, got the job, and so that was originally an ag mechanics position. And then there was a big push for welders in the school district. There's a lot of manufacturing around, especially in Hanover. So they started pushing that approved welding program, and I love welding.
So it was as simple as the district already was headed in that direction.
Yes,
it wasn't like it wasn't a push from you or from the outside at all.
They wanted to do it, and I was all for it. They asked, would you be all right teaching full-time welding instead of full-time ag mechanics? And I was like, yeah, that's fine, man. And we already had a huge emphasis in welding in our ag mechanics curriculum. You hear old farmers talk, and they say about, this guy, Bob Smith, he's just a really good alfalfa grower. And I was like, what makes a good alfalfa grower? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's like, so we started planting some alfalfa, and it's like grass hay's like playing checkers and alfalfa's like playing chess. It is just about timing, waiting game, and just to keep your leaves on, not so you're baling all stems. And this, what is it, about 2-3 o'clock, and we're out baling this stuff. But the alfalfa we're going to bale today, started raking it around 8 o'clock. Well, it was still tough, and we're just going to let it sit all day till about 7 o'clock this evening, and then we'll start baling that. I had wanted to go for my master's for my teaching career, because get a little bump in your base salary. Right? So I was like, well, teach agriculture, I'll go for agronomy. That was just a passion. I love growing plants. So enrolled through Iowa State through their online program, and so just about pretty near finished it up. Right now I'm working on my thesis. They like to call it the creative component, but and you can pick whatever you want to do, and I decided to do mine on using plant growth hormones for alfalfa production. So essentially, and that's what I'm doing right now, I'm going to collect my last round of data probably here this week. Yeah, I'll use plant growth hormones essentially to make increased yield. You have to have your fertility there. You can't have mediocre ground and expect the plant growth hormone to make you grow better hay. You have to have your fertility there. So if I did it on doing my research on a field of Roundup Ready alfalfa and a field of conventional alfalfa. So finishing up my results, collect my data, write a rough draft for my thesis, and then my professor, he'll go through it, do any spell checks, any data corrections that may need to be done. If I he'll coach me through, and then I'll go out there to Iowa and defend my research that I did. And it was through a product through Winfield Ag, and they donated it free of cost just for me to do my research on.
Yeah.
They're a pretty cool company to work with. So, but anyway, yes, it's a Masters of Hay. I have no
Student of hay.
Yeah, I don't want to become a doctor of hay. There's enough doctors in this world already. But no, I like doing that Masters, and I'm no corn grower, I'm no soybean grower. I know enough to be dangerous, but you got those farmers around here. My buddy, who's the same age as me, he didn't go to college, but he's growing some of the best looking corn around Adams County here that I've seen. Last year he was averaging around, I think he averaged 262 bushels an acre on his corn.
Nice.
Yeah, and this is Adams County ground. It's not York, it's not Eastern York County, it's not Lancaster County, it's Adams County ground. There's a reason why there's brick houses everywhere. It's all clay. Okay? So it's pretty tough to grow that kind of corn. So yeah, shout out to the guys around here that can grow some wicked yields on corn. It's tough. And it kind of, our ground around here being a lot of clay, it makes it tough for growing alfalfa, especially trying to keep any type of stand life, because that heaving, the freezing and thawing really can decrease the life of an alfalfa field pretty quick because of the crowns popping out.
Rick? That was fun?
Yes, sir. It was fun. I like that.
Good. I appreciate the time out here today. Appreciate you taking the time to show us about your business,
Sure,
and also want to thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
Both for what you represent for agriculture, being a first generation farmer, the next generation of people to do this kind of work, and for your contributions to welding and education too.
I enjoy it.
It is really cool, the stuff that you're into, and I think it can be something really inspirational for the people that you interact with. So
cool. Yeah, I hope so.
thank you for that. I know you're just out driving your tractor and stuff at the end of the day, but realize that people like you really impress me.
Yeah,
so
cool. It's just like, I don't know, I'm just still a kid playing with my toys, man. That's all it is. They're a little more expensive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us today. If you have any parts needs for your equipment, equipment you might be looking to purchase, or service needs that we can help with, Messick's is here to help with those things. And by all means, if you're in the central Pennsylvania area, you're looking to purchase some really high quality hay, or have hay work that you need to have done, I know a guy that can help. You'll find his links down there in the description. So thank you for joining us.